works.
Yeah, this kind of came up on me quicker than I thought. But
Yeah,
not the show
happens.
recording, the clapping that you never heard. It was deleted.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
it's a
right.
podcast secret.
Yeah, giving out all our secrets over here. That's what we do on Goin Berserk.
Going berserk. I think this show invented that, the clapping technique. Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
It's been around for like 15 episodes. So
yeah,
pretty sure no one else was doing it. Hey, whoa! I'm not Ben. Why am I here again? This is all wrong.
Yeah. So you're back because honestly, Ben got COVID, and he's been fighting. He's been struggling himself there. Little old struggler Ben. Last I heard, this last weekend or whatever, he got to the point where he can finally like sit up and look at something and not like get sick or feel shitty. So he can read manga and like watch stuff now again. But
man, I never got it that bad. I think I got that Omicron. And yeah, that level of weakness definitely didn't hit me. I was able to. Is that like the
baby version? Omicron?
I feel like it must have been the weakest one.
Yeah.
But pretty prevalent in terms of spreading. So yeah, I'm not sure. But that's too bad. But at least that corner's been turned. But he's not up for casting yet. Hey,
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't want to bug him until he's like, I'm back to work and back to normal sort of thing. So I'm gonna assume probably a couple of weeks, especially like if he had the cough and everything, that shit nags forever.
Yeah.
As somebody who also had COVID, I didn't have the cough, but I had some of the symptoms lasted far longer, far out of pocket what I thought they would, like a month or so. So
like, when were you able to just bite into a red onion and enjoy it again?
Well, I mean, I've never done that, so never. But
it's just like I want to feel like I ate a Greek salad, but like right away, and just
yeah, I didn't get my taste back for a couple weeks, about maybe a week and a half, and then some of the minor symptoms or whatever just lasted for a long time. But that was also maybe like lethargy in general probably had a play in that, like not just COVID. So.
It's hard to say. Yeah, I watched a lot of Bob's Burgers during my bout with it. If that had made me nauseous, I would have been really sad. So that would have been rough. But yeah, it's me, Nathan. I'm here to talk some Berserk. Not old Berserk this time. We're stepping forward on the journey, on the path to causality, and I guess so. It is the conviction story. I just kind of felt there was a sub story in it that was pretty self-contained. That's what we're going to be talking about. But the Holy See and their nonsense is going to be introduced. Yes, we'll get into that. But before we get to any of that, we're going to go way back in time to 1988 to the pilot episode, The Prototype, which is just kind of thrown in there unceremoniously in the Dark Horse volumes, kind of mid-story. And they're just like, hey, by the way, there was a thing that was thrown together that was kind of a pitch, like, document or something. It was like, hey, this is basically what we're going to try to do. There's going to be this guy. He's going to have a big sword, and he's going to fight monsters. What do you think? And I guess it worked. But
sure,
I don't know.
I'll just read the thing they have for it here. This story is a submission piece created by Kentaro Miura during college in 1988, which became a basis for what is now Berserk. The establishment of details, worldview, and whatnot differs at points from the Berserk series being published today, but the intent is still present in this early incarnation. This story is set after the conclusion of the Band of the Hawk story arc. So this is the Black Swordsman. This is what we like. This takes place after the stuff we just read or talked about at length.
Oh, is it still considered a canonical thing that happened?
Well, no, but like this is where it would.
Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it conflicts with much anyway, but it
doesn't.
I mean, he has an eye patch briefly.
He looks very much like Snake from Phantom Pain. Just
100%
in this. down to the fact that I'm pretty sure they stole his look here for his design in that video game.
I'll be bringing up that video game again later when we talk about the story we're gonna mostly focus on. But he runs into this girl named Fricka who's being hauled off to a local lord to be one of his maidens. And this was kind of similar to like Casca's predicament in like her flashback stuff when she's rescued by Griffith, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of random stuff in there for sure. There's that. And also just the start of the Black Swordsman of the children being fed to the count or
monsters.
Whatever. And the townspeople kind of begging because he brings him to her hometown and they kind of beg him to like take care of the royalty in that area because he's been stealing children or something.
Yeah, an old grandma is kind of like, please bring back my grandchild or avenge them or something. And Guts is too cool for that. But somehow he still gets roped in. Is it Puck kind of insists they go, or I forget why.
He sees the symbol, the brand of sacrifice, which is not jaggy in this. It is a round circle type thing instead of a diamond. He sees it on the cart or whatever that she gets hauled away in.
Okay, so he's like, I see. There's a demon
that crest
here.
was ... Yeah, exactly.
So he is interested in taking care of that. And then he encounters this kind of moody ruler guy who turns into a big Ganon monster kind of thing.
Vlad Tepes or whatever. I'm guessing just the Dracula connection.
Sure.
They did something there.
They have a little fight, and he chops him up pretty good. And before he did that, when he's leaving the town, he gives Fricka the eye patch. So that's kind of why I was saying it could fit in of just like, oh, he got rid of that anyway. He resumes his look that we know. He's a bit more friendly with Puck and a bit quippier in general, I found. Yeah. Like he's sort of more Dante, like, got you or whatever, like as he's fighting this thing, or like calling out his moves in a way he doesn't really do in the rest of it. So he's a little more cocky or something. And they kind of iron that down, or just like, more no, he's all fight. He's all bite, no bark kind of thing, as we know him now, which I guess I prefer, but it's also because I've read like 18 issues of him that way and then 40 pages of him this way. So I don't know. And that's it. That's all I have for notes about this little story.
There's not a whole lot to talk about with this. That you can clearly see ideas that were in this prototype kind of fleshed out more in the Black Swordsman, the first 3 volumes.
Yeah, the seeds are there, I guess, and the kind of mood and stuff. There's a whole bunch of skeletons impaled on sticks and whatnot.
A much more basic looking demon transformation than the weird, like, sluggy, fucked up thing that dude becomes in the actual material that came out. This is more of a like, that looks like something that would have walked out of hell, I guess. That's a demon.
Yeah, it's less bizarre and crazy looking than we get used to. So, you know, he's real young. Yeah, more conventional. I looking at it the second time to prepare for today, I just got kind of Ganon type stuff. Just big tusks and big piggish looking burly thing. And not to disrespect Ganon's design. I guess he's cool, but not R-rated, I guess. Right. Yeah, those are teen video games. Yeah. But okay, so that happened way back in the day. It went to series and things changed a little bit.
That's cool.
And the Eclipse stuff we kind of talked about last week on our recap. That was the episode before. So now we just have. I guess I should flip back to my regular notes. Just a second.
Yeah. So we're going to pick up basically right after he walks off, leaving Casca and the crew at the cabin or whatever. And he's going to
go to his place. Journey. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we pick up in the new arc called the Conviction arc, which is split up into 3 chapters, according to this list that I'm looking at right here. The one that people have talked about that I've recognized the name, Lost Children. And people say that, like, yeah, they consider Lost Children almost like a little mini arc in itself. And I guess that makes sense. And that's what we're going to be talking about here.
It kind of felt that way. It has a closure to it in itself. Like, I guess we kick off with the Holy See discovering the Red Lake, which is, I'm assuming, something they see every 216 years because that's when eclipses happen.
More importantly, I guess we just like learn that these people exist. We get these weird, like, classic paladin type holy knights that are on the trail of, we find out to be guts, or at least what happened here. But it's kind of interesting to just see a bunch of new characters again, like another army.
Just kind of marching onto the scene. But yeah, they are following the trail of all this carnage and craziness that they're seeing in the land.
Yes.
So, worth investigating. They kind of introduce a few key people. You get Serpico. He's kind of this somewhat snarky guy, but he seems not evil or anything, just kind of loyal to this cause.
He seems like judo again.
Little, but he's always got his eyes kind of closed, got his chin up high, a little bit. But there's like a sly quality somewhere in how he carries himself. You also have Azan with his great mustache. He's kind of a older knight that is escorting Lady Farnese, who is ostensibly their leader, but it's sort of a figurehead role. It's kind of interesting how they elaborate on this. They don't get into it too much in the stuff we're going to be talking about today, though. You get more once you get to what is it? Chains?
Binding chains or something. Yeah.
Binding chain is where they get more into the nitty gritty of these guys, but they're established here as kind of, I don't know, holy crusaders. What are they? The Iron Chain Holy Knights?
Yeah, I think
have it
you
written
actually
down.
have it right on.
Okay.
Yeah. It is. That's okay. They don't say it on that page, apparently. The Holy Iron Chain Knights. So yes, words, just a little bit different order.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I might have scrambled them just a bit. But yeah, Lady Farnese is going to become pretty important. But right here, she's just kind of like the head of the pack and kind of
the most ornate.
I actually, Did you read her steed as being literally a unicorn, or that's an elaborate headpiece it has?
Yeah, I thought it was an elaborate headpiece.
Okay. Because unicorns don't exactly fit, but maybe.
You're right. I didn't even consider that maybe it is.
It could just be, but it might just be war armor or something for this thing.
That's what I assumed. Yeah.
But yeah, there is a horn, but it could be metal. I don't know.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
But okay, so they're on the trail. They see this gruesome lake of all the bloody corpses of the Band of the Hawk.
Of just viscera, and blood.
Yeah. And then we kind of jump cut to this forest scene where there's these thugs that have a captive, and they're kind of telling scary stories to each other around the campfire in front of this weird tree. And a storm is starting to come in, and like a flash of lightning reveals that Guts was literally right there. He just kind of didn't care.
Trying to take a nap.
He's just trying to rest. He has a real weird sleep pattern. He can't really rest at night.
So what's kind of interesting is that there's a time jump here. The stuff with meeting the knights was right after the eclipse. This is 2 years later that it jumps to. So, there's a big jump, which you don't remember happens. Because it all seems like it's probably within a week.
I guess the sense that like these knights have been on the trail for 2 years and have not caught up with him didn't exactly weigh on me, but you're right.
Yeah.
They've been on this job for a long time. But okay, so we meet this character Jill, who is the captive. She is
a child from like a nearby village of where this is happening or whatever.
Yeah, maybe a young teen or something, like 13.
Yeah,
I would guess.
Yep.
Sure. Guts is there and isn't initially going to really get involved in saving her or anything, but the thugs just decide to pick a fight, which,
yeah,
I don't know. It made me kind of think about, like, I was looking at what he was wearing this time. It's like, okay, if he wasn't like as cloaked up as he is, I think a lot more people would just take a look at him and go, oh, wow, I don't want to fight that guy. Like, he has seen too much shit because he's missing an arm. That sword's really big, like all the scars all over him. Like, you just be like, all right, I don't think our posse of like 4 guys is going to be able to do this. So goodbye.
Well, they don't pick the fight. Puck does.
Puck is good at doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He Puck's
kind of a little shit disturber.
Well, he's doing the kind of Paragon playthrough too, I guess. He's trying to help everybody they meet. And Guts is not really interested in doing that. He just wants to fight the demons or the Inhumans, I guess. But yeah, it kind of works out both ways, though, because Puck wants to save Jill. Guts then sees this tree activate at night and turn into this crazy, like, writhing thing of faces and whatever. So he's going to fight that anyway. So it works out for both. When I saw this thing, like some of the snaggly teeth and stuff kind of reminded me of those fireballs Bowser throws at you in Super Mario Bros. You know?
Totally. Yep. Also, there's a bunch of like weird Halloween jack-lanterns and stuff. Like, this is, I'm sure Scarecrow has been drawn this way as well in Batman comics. This is classic like Halloween-y demon stuff.
It's a really Halloween special tree. Yeah. I guess it can eat people and stuff too, though. It kind of dispatches a couple of these thugs and presumably adds to itself by the souls it's consuming or something. It's a neat little thing. All of this, though, does definitely feel like lower stakes stuff than the Eclipse business we just got out of. But I was kind of refreshed by that. It was just like, all right, just give me some monsters of the week. We're fighting a crazy tree. Sure. That's fine. After everything we've been through, we can just have a little lesser stakes adventure. But so okay. Jill is saved. Thugs run off and encounter some fairies. And then that's kind of where we leave them, and we get the reintroduction of Rosine, who hasn't been named at this point. I'm jumping the gun a little bit. But I don't know what else to call her. She's like the crazy moth demon thing from like the massacre
from earlier.
Riker
She's
saw
been
this
around.
character. I was thinking back on it. I was really thrown that character is with that posse of demons in that scene. It sort of seems weird, but I guess maybe we'll get to see their relationship later. I'm
guessing maybe it's just because of an emergence gate that's opened or something. It's like, oh yeah, they like, that's the doorway. So I don't like this person, but we have to go through the same door after our shift's done, sort of thing. Like, I'm guessing that's why she was just kind of there. Because I don't remember if in that part she actually does any weird eviscerating stuff, or if she's just being kind of weird and playful and creepy.
Kind of creepy, but I think she has to eat humans, I believe. Like, her demonness still makes her have to do some munching from time to time. So maybe that was just a smorgasbord that she was nearby.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Perhaps. But okay, so Jill kind of guides them to her crummy little village. And everybody's kind of scared and locked up inside. Once they get a sight of Puck, though. Oh, I guess important to introduce Zepik, her kind of just crummy father,
her shitty dad,
dad.
So this is the stuff that made me hate Guts at the beginning too, where she's just like getting beaten in the street, and like Guts could easily grab this guy by his head and crush it into pulp.
Yeah,
but he doesn't do anything, and that's fucking irritating to me.
Sure. Or like when he was at the tree thing, he was just like, oh, fine, I guess I'll get involved. Like he like they were gonna assault her right there, or perhaps kill her or whatever, and he was just fine. I was like, just keep it down. Like, it's just real Yeah, he's back to his kind of gruff ways. There is some like internal struggling with him about like, oh man, am I getting too soft and stuff during this story? But yeah, I guess it was maybe a little encouraging that he at least has to like put on an effort to be an asshole. You know,
sure.
Like it's like,
this
is impacting my fighting ability if I like care and stop to care ever. So I really need to stomp out that impulse kind of thing is going on.
The way this goes, eventually, we'll talk more in depth about it. There is kind of a cool thing where it's just like, oh yeah, no, your rage is what's fueling like your ability to do this shit, and it will kill you eventually if you don't like get that shit worked on or whatever. But like, yeah, no, it's super cool that he is going berserk, like literally. And that's
but he kind of has to force it a little bit from time to time. Yeah, like it's not as righteous fury all the time as it needs to be to keep him on the edge and fighting. But I mean, in this case,
he should have just kicked that little shit over and just like, you hit her again, I'm gonna cut you.
This character's epic is such a like. I guess he could be more molesty or something. He's kind of just actually physically abusive. He's slapping people around, and like his whole thing is his glory days were the war when he was a soldier. It gave him purpose and like something to do. Now he's just a like former soldier who's a drunk. He kind of gave me like I used to be the quarterback in high school vibes or whatever. Totally. Like he is just bitter and takes it out on his family because they're nearby. And it sucks. He does suck, but I guess he could be worse given some of the characters we've encountered.
Yeah, it's actually kind of refreshing to see well, I can't even say that because there's definite glimpses of like, oh yeah, he definitely raped her a bunch of times or whatever in her memories that they.
Okay.
So, but at least here, like he didn't.
Yeah, he's just, you should be nicer to me. You should respect me more. This kind of stuff. So she does not like her home life at all. She would rather not be there, but that's going to become more important to her and her decisions in the coming stories. But okay, so Puck jumps in again to kind of like defend her from this abusive dad character. Yeah. And this time it goes real weird because the whole town is like terrified of this elf. They do not like elves in this region for some reason that we will discover. So,
right.
Yeah, it kind of gets them in hot water pretty quickly. Whereas normally it's just like, oh yeah, he's this little guy that bothers me and follows me around. But this time it's like the whole town kind of turns on them. And whenever like normal people start picking fights with guts, I get really like worried for them. like just looking at the panels and just making sure that guy who sells barrels wasn't cut in half or something just because he's standing there.
There is a very much like an Ashen Army of Darkness moment where they're crowding around him. He thinks to himself, maybe they'll come down if I kill a few of them or something like that. Mm-hmm. He lifts up his sword in the air in like some grandiose fashion and then just cuts in half a cart and full of barrels and stuff. Is just like, oh yeah, this is the, all right, you primitive screwheads, this is my boomstick moment or whatever. But yeah, uses it as a distraction to run away. And yeah, but you're right, that whole situation is just like, he just needs to like turn around and this whole town is dead.
Like if he wanted to, like I was just like, you know, as just a background NPC in a lot of ways, I would just be like, yo, give him so much space in these situations. It's real bad. But shortly thereafter, there's kind of a blitz attack by this fairy army, elf army. What are we calling them? Elves.
I mean, technically, around. They're the lost children.
Yeah, which is the name of this sub story. We'll just call them Lost Children. We don't really know that yet, but whatever. We'll lead moth.
Why after? Yeah.
Moth monster lady appears, and she's starting to like rain down. Like all these little things are like eviscerating dogs and cows and people, and the town is in disarray. This little kid Thomas, his parents are killed, and wait, we're not. No, we are there. This is the this is that little action sequence where he uses Thomas as bait, right? He's like, hey, do you want some revenge? Yeah. I can help you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is, so he picks up Thomas with his sword and kind of flies him like a flag by his shirt. And just runs through the town with this kid on tag, like just snagged on the end of his giant sword with this huge swarm of like terrible fairy monster
bug
type
creatures.
Things, swarming after him, lures them into a broken down barn or whatever and just sets the place on fire. And I thought that was so fucking cool.
Does he kind of throw a sack of powder or something and shoot it? Like, I was kind of looking at the the panel before the big fire burst, and it's like there's this little bag in the air. Whatever he does, the whole barn goes up. He closes it, and Thomas and him fires. Watch the carnage or whatever. It's just like, hey, these bugs burn real good or something.
Oh, you know what I think he does? Because he has an arm cannon, he fills it up with powder, gunpowder, but he doesn't put a ball.
Probably not a ball. You're right. Yeah, it's pure powder, just blast that sets everything up. And they burn a bunch of these kind of hornet elf things. The town is like morally outraged at him for having dangled the kid, but he's kind of like defensive about it because like, you guys just hid in your houses. You didn't help this kid. I at least helped him get revenge or whatever. Like, what are you coming at me for? Which he's right a little bit. Okay, so
there's a lot to talk about kind of in the lead up to the reveal here. So yes, they are definitely elves that like as we see, but there's a moment right before they like attack or something that we finally get a clear like vision of what they are. Like the facade leaves for a second and we see that they're actually these like horrific like demon humanoid bugs, like giant wasps.
Hornets or something. Yeah, there's this big cloud of them. And he's already at this point kind of used his giant sword as a mega fly swatter sword.
That part's great too. Yeah.
Which it's perfect. It's a big flat thing and they're real tiny. So he's just mushing these things. Unfortunately, as it turns out for Guts, after the fire is settling down a little bit, all of these things revert to their human form once they are dead. So he has basically just killed like 40 kids.
A shitload of children.
In the eyes of the village, this looks really bad because he's standing over like just kid carcass corpse heap that is on fire.
And it's just like, this burning heap of children corpses.
But I would hope they saw like, okay, there was the big swarm of things though, maybe, but they're, it's an awful image. So they're pretty pissed at him still. And he heads off to kind of go take care of all the rest of them or whatever, or hunt.
Well, he gets carried off because he gets attacked by Rosine and she spores him. She poisons him.
There's that first proboscis poke or whatever in the arm. Yeah, you're right. She kind of swings by.
That leads to like this situation where he needs help to get out. And that help is by taking Jill as a hostage to walk out of town unscathed because he isn't in a fighting position anymore.
The conflict de-escalates though because Jill calls out to the leader, like she starts to recognize that this thing is probably her friend Rosine and yells out her name, and that just kind of flummoxes the lead elf and she kind of leads her army back out to the valley. So they do get this little lull, but then the town is turning on everybody. And Guts takes Jill as hostage at knife point, which doesn't exactly bother Jill that much, as she's kind of a willing hostage as it turns out, because she just wants to get out of this crappy town.
It's an important just way that she also leaves. Otherwise, she probably wouldn't. Like, there's a lot that happens with those two. This is kind of my favorite part, actually, of this arc is we get a story about her friend just kind of like an outsider who never felt like she belonged or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she just kind of stopped hearing from her one day. She ran away from home or whatever. And now we're here, basically. But she liked this story of an elf with red eyes and pointy ears that, like, wasn't like the other children in town and was kind of run off or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a fairy tale.
Red-eyed Peekaf is kind of this local fairy tale. Where, like, it unfortunately it was kind of reminding me of Frozen, which I wasn't stoked about. That's my brain's fault though. But like, I feel like isn't there a beat in that where like Elsa is taken to these like gnomes that have ice powers to like save her life, and then because of that,
Frozen 2?
I think that's Frozen 1 because that's how Elsa gets her powers. I've never seen Frozen 2, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like Elsa's whole thing of like, why am I different? Why do I have these weird X-Men powers? It's like, well, these little gnomes saved your life when you were a little kid. Don't you know that? I feel like Red-Eyed Peekaf's parents really should have talked to him real young so that this whole situation doesn't happen. But he goes off in search of who his people are. He assumes he's an elf and heads out into the elf forest to like find his real parents. But the elves don't really trust him either because he's not fully an elf. He's like a half elf. But I think he at least then is told what happened and returns to his home with like, oh, okay, like my parents love me very much and they actually just did this crazy thing to save me. Oh, wait, like magic time dilation or whatever, because that was a magic forest. So many years have gone by and my parents are dead. One of those like Grimm Brothers fairy tales where it ends off on like a dour note or whatever, where there was something happy going on, but nothing's happy because like happy knowledge is discovered, but it doesn't get to work out for anybody.
There was time now. The glasses broke. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, just to like duck back it for a second here.
For sure. There's a lot of like minor things. But important stuff. Like Puck is clearly going after this like giant chunk of cheese in this basket that Jill brought. So can't not mention it. I mean, it's so funny. I actually wanted to mention Puck just in general too, because it's been a long time since we've had any sort of levity, and it's really, I'll admit, going back to Puck being here was really fucking irritating and off-putting for the first little bit, because I kind of got used to these are adults talking about war situation and terrible things
and like traumas and serious stuff, and
now we're in like, oh, Puck is like doing a flag dance or making funny faces, and I'm just like, oh my god. But then at the same time, Gus is a piece of shit again, so like
we kind of need him here to balance it out. But there's some comic chicanery with Puck that's like occasionally a little too goofy. It's like they're just kind of like annotating little things like, oh, he's doing this crazy bit that this comedian would do. He would run in this really funny way, and it's like, okay, like what? Like it's just this totally different Three Stooges-ery going on in the background of like this grim tale or whatever. So a little weird,
and it's a little much for me. I'll say this is obviously a like older teenager / adult manga, and like that for me, that's
it's kind of like a dash of cream soda in your whiskey or whatever. It's not really meant for that.
I feel that's what I feel like anyways, because I generally like Puck. I think he's a good addition to this crew, and honestly a super needed one. But sometimes some of those panels, he's like literally there just to be annoying, and it annoys me, the reader, too.
Like they kind of jump in pretty hard with, Mira kind of throws him in a lot pretty quickly to just reintroduce him into the proceedings, and there's a little section where he gets like 5 pages by himself, and they at least note it. It's just like, this is going to become a totally different manga if we keep hanging out with him. And it's like, but this is a bit much. I don't know. His vantage point on things is a little too silly, given what's going on. But fortunately, this is a bit of a fairy tale-ish story, and it involves elves a lot, so I felt he kind of fit in okay. But
sure.
Yeah, it's a lot all at once for him. Okay, got the fly swatting.
Yeah, the fly swatter scene, that's one of the, like, this is a thing that Ben and I always have trouble with, where it's just like, we're talking about something that's just super visually awesome, but if you're not looking at it, it doesn't make sense to you. Like, you have to be seeing the image of just like this sword with all these
this sword's like
things
as big as a person, so you just gotta imagine like a 6-foot slab is peppered with little corpses now because he's swinging it. And we get another look at this later that I initially thought was a flashback, but it was actually a resumption of combat, which was kind of nice. But okay, so now is the snake eater bit, I guess. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
Guts is poisoned, and he's lost too much blood. He needs to recover, so he just kind of slices and roasts a snake and eats it, which was like, oh wow, okay, great. The snake eater is just right here. Like, that song played in my brain.
Yeah, and what a thrill.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy to see. But yeah, he has barbecued snake, and he's trying to have a rest or whatever, but he can't, because a bunch of like the ghosts of like the burnt children show up to hassle him. And he blames his, like, you know, fetus kid,
demon
that
fetus,
is showing up again in the fire to taunt him or whatever. But pretty soon he just gets into the thrill of battle and is going nuts, slicing up these fire children and not listening to anything they say. It's just like shots of like a little kid just being like, "Mommy, what's going on? Where am I?" Slice. Like, he just does not care. But Jill shows up amidst all this like slicing and dicing, and he does stop his sword at that point. He does not cut her. And there's that little kind of blink next to his head, making him like, oh, like it throws off his rhythm or whatever. And a bunch of fire ghosts tackle him, and he has to like do another cliff dive to get out of this situation. So he has a rough night again, I guess.
It's actually kind of a weird theme where I don't think he gets to sleep like ever. For the rest, for what I've read,
he might have had a short nap in that windmill that Jill led him to, but when she comes the next morning to like give him breakfast, there's like giant cuts out of the walls and pillars and stuff. It's like, clearly some scrap happened here also.
Well, Puck says he literally just got to bed like a minute ago or whatever. Give him some time, and then the next panel he's like doing this or something, like a backhanding a thing that was crawling on the wall behind him.
Yeah, so coming out of the shadows.
He didn't sleep more than like 5 minutes.
Jill kind of had enough time to fall asleep near him or whatever, so
sure,
maybe half an hour, maybe. But yeah, he's running on fumes for sure. Yeah. But okay, Rosine then just shows up to kind of hang out with Jill. Like, she does recognize her and kind of demonstrifies a little bit and looks more like a normal person, and just kind of starts talking to Jill in a friendly manner, which was it was kind of neat to just see a monstrous inhuman creature have more dimension, you know? Like, the Count, I guess, had his reasons for, like, he was mad at his wife and all this, but he's still a pretty monstrous dude. He didn't really stir up any empathy or anything within me. Rosine has like a much more tragic tale as to why she turned and what her situation is. Many children are dying because of her, so I'm not saying she's good, but I was still caught up in this kind of tragic friendship that they have here.
It's kind of an interesting story of how, like, Rosine didn't fit in anywhere, but her and Jill really got on together. And her mom died when she was a kid. Her dad treated her like a piece of meat and shit, as like every woman gets treated in this world. So she ran away, and one of the treasures she had was a behelit.
Yeah.
So, of course it was. And
she would collect like stones and shells and things, but yeah, one of the odd things she happened to come across was the behelit. Yeah.
And we find out that, like, she left the treasures to Jill, wasn't seen from again until now, and her parents disappeared shortly thereafter or whatever. So as readers that know, and we get kind of confirmation pretty soon thereafter, she sacrificed her dad or her parents or whatever to become free as a demon forever or something.
Yeah, that
she
definitely
thinks she's Peekaf.
She does. She really attaches to the Peekaf story, and she kind of casts herself in that role, but whenever she sees Puck, she kind of accuses him of being a Peekaf that does not belong with the true elves or whatever, which is kind of weird. But,
it is super weird.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I need to gather a thought here.
There's also some weird like panels of her getting really close to Jill, which I don't know if that's just like we're really close friends or if there's kind of like an attraction there or something, but
it's hard to say. They definitely love each other in some extent, like
yeah, of course,
pure friendship or whatever it is. It's a
little too close though in some of those panels.
I mean, Rosine is kind of constantly basically nude in how she appears too, so it makes it a little odd also. But she's a weird elf person, you know?
Yeah, like I mean, she's a demon. Like, demons do weird things like this shit, so...
Yeah, like, Guts kind of asserts that was most likely what happened is she sacrificed her parents. Like, I don't know that she knows that about her own story yet. Like, they kind of have her memory be really weird. Like, she... Like, to jump ahead slightly, like, she kind of leaves this story, like, in pursuit of her parents. Like, she's like, oh, I'm gonna go find them. It's like, all right, good luck. Sure. Good luck with that. Like, I don't know if you were gonna like what you find, kind of thing. But yeah, I was kind of questioning what was up with her dad and whatnot. I'm assuming that's what happened too. That was probably her sacrifice. But I guess we'll get to that flashback to her situation towards the end of the story. But okay. While she's kind of demonstrified and is reconnecting with Jill, Guts takes advantage of the situation to kind of perform a sneak attack and manages to clip her wing, which makes her immediately turn like big wasp monster. Like all of the sudden, which keeps scaring Jill, but she still really doesn't want to go back to her situation at home. So she's still kind of entertaining this possibility space of like, well, I could live in the Misty Valley with my weird like elf monster friend. That might be better. So I don't know. I kept rooting for her, I guess.
It's hard to blame her because it's like Rosine is not good to her. Like they're having a decent time.
They go for like a Superman flight kind of just over the valley and
she
see
shows
all
her
the splendors. It's kind of nice. There's kind of like a pastoral cute quality to this stuff. It's like this sun-soaked valley and like these two friends reconnecting after a long time
and her feeling free for the first time ever.
But also a pile of children corpses. Like it's always right there. Like there's a lot of gnarly business going on underneath it all, but for some reason I wasn't really focusing on that. I was really still looking at their friendship and hoping it would work out somehow, but like knowing Guts would want to kill her real bad was kind of clouding everything. I don't know. I guess it was the first time I was sort of like hoping in this mythology and in this rule set you can like unbecome a demon. Maybe.
So you know, this is a theory I'm having. Maybe you can. Like maybe there's something you can do, because it's weird that at the end of, I guess, spoiler alert of what we're talking about here, Rosine leaves. She's not fucking beheaded or like disemboweled or anything. She's alive somewhere.
Yeah, I was really thrown by that. Like, I honestly thought this was going to be the tragic death of Rosine, friend of Jill or whatever, and that it kind of took a weird like, oh, wow, okay, I thought that was a mortal wound or whatever, but I guess this sort of distraction comes into the front and like Guts can't finish her off, so that's left hanging for the future, and I'm curious to see what we encounter with that character again.
It's super interesting too, because of the Rosine stuff. a lot of the times when Guts is there, she's trying to save Jill as well. Like, she really actually cares about this human.
Oh, there's a huge moment. That's that. Yeah, it was pretty special moment. But
we'll get to
I guess during this kind of like Guts tried this attack, they flew off. He is now kind of wandering through the forest in pursuit of this, and comes across this like crazy corpse ball, like a la Castlevania or something.
Yeah.
And like ghoul like monsters start emerging from it and like transforming into more bug monsters for him to fight.
It's the bandits that we saw at the beginning of this.
Yeah, those chapter. Bandits are part of the corpse ball. There's so many people there though, so I assume some other people are there, including like this duo that turn into a giant rhinoceros beetle and a mantis. And they're really the focus of this action scene. Like there's like a little spider dude. There's like a smaller rhinoceros beetle, and he quickly does some sort of like Link Smash Bros corkscrew roll with his sword out thing and gets both of them. But this duo presents a problem because there's a tank and a fast DPS guy. And how do you fight both?
There's a rogue and a tank. So it's tricky. And they used to be knights as humans or whatever. So they know good at being bug fighters. Yeah, it was kind of fun. Kind of video gaming, I guess. But I was still like, yeah, this crazy mantis dude. What's he going to do? And they're wearing Guts down. Like he can't land blows successfully on the fast guy, and then him being so preoccupied with him is allowing the tank guy to kind of get in some charges and whatnot. I never quite figure out the crazy move he pulls to get both of them. He has to do like a simul kill. And I looked at it like a bunch of times when I first read it. I looked at it again today. I love it, but I don't know exactly what happens. So if you have a good read on it, let me know. No, totally. So what he does, so first of all, he does this thing where they're like charging at him, and he kind of does the like John Woo crossing arms with gun in one hand and sword in the other, and does like a side thing or whatever. The move you're talking about, he shoots one of them and then uses the momentum from that to throw his arm back while the other arm comes cleaving down with his sword.
Okay. I was like almost wondering if he shot his own blade to make it go faster or something, but so he's just sliding into position from the shot with his blade positioned to do a cleave on the mantis guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just this weird, like, I don't know, I guess to maybe help rocket boost his movement, which as fast as it is, he's able to do.
Okay, so it's a rocket boost cut that gets the mantis, and then the shot gets the rhino.
Something like that. Yeah. It's super hard to read, but that's the best I could read on it.
Okay. It's pretty vicious. Whatever he does, he totally cuts the mantis in half, and the rhino's head just kind of pops, like his eyes go flying out.
Disgusting. Yeah.
He's toasted. So whatever he did, it worked, but it was basically his last ditch. Like, I got to get both at once or I won't be able to hit either. Kind of thing. And it was pretty cool. But
can we take a moment to say how this whole part is disgusting?
You don't like these bug people?
Well, it's specifically bugs I hate. So like one of the first guys turns into an earwig, which is just disgusting. Fuck, earwigs are so gross.
Yeah.
And then another one, of course, is a centipede type thing, because Japanese people love their centipede monsters. So sure, that makes sense.
I feel like Japan has so many crazy like cicadas and giant beetles just around that it totally makes sense to me that you would pull from those for monster designs.
Totally. They're like little monsters for sure.
The detail I liked was like some of the kind of fly people, or like I guess there was some other compound eye featured insectoids. They also seem to have like human eyes at the base of their face.
Yeah.
So it was this cool like weird mutant thing going on with them. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But he quickly dispatches most of them, so you don't have to deal with them for too long. But yeah, I don't love bugs, but I guess I wasn't too thrown off by it. I was mostly thinking of like that Bloodborne guy that has like a spider body but like a human face. Was kind of where I was going in the From Software realm for like, that probably inspired that. Like there's that part where like a dude is coming down behind him on that tree and there's a big beetle pinning him against the tree. That was kind of what I was thinking for that. But yeah, so he makes it out of this bug battle and continues into the valley to pursue the Rosine and her posse. We check in with the Holy Knights again. They have come upon the village and found the horrible, like
the mass grave of children. Yeah,
yeah, they're burying the kids. So just like, wow, yeah, Black Swordsman. This sure checks out. This fits the MO of awful things that we've been seeing for a couple of years. Yeah. Jill's dad kind of steps up to the plate, but for really shitty reasons. So I was pretty mad at him because he's not helping to help his daughter. He just wants to be in the army again so bad.
He wants that glory back. He wants
to be respected as a knight again, or whatever he was. Like a lowly soldier was better than how he's regarded now. So he agrees to like guide them to the valley and is really like inappropriately stoked about it in a way that was kind of irritating. There's like, oh sweet, I get to be part of a real army again. Okay, but like your daughter was kidnapped by weird monsters. Oh yeah, whatever. Like he's not really like motivated by that. Like Jill's mom is sort of trying, but she can't get a word in or whatever. Like she's getting slapped around too. I think she wanted to go out to save Jill earlier during the craziness in the town, but he's like, what are you talking about? There's horrible monsters out there. Like we're going to die. So he would never risk his life for Jill, I guess, is what it seems like. So yeah, but he's their guide. He's going to lead them out there and that will become important later. Oh yeah, I guess they don't really get into the who it are the Holy Iron Chain Knights in this issue, so we'll talk about that later. I'm gonna cross out this note. Yeah,
no, this is more of just like meanwhile,
they are still on the trail,
ranks,
and getting closer. Yeah. So Puck's kind of, this is where he's off on his own for a few pages. He finds the Misty Valley and everything, and he can't help himself but kind of like jump in with these elves and like frolic around with them. It was kind of a funny panel, like where they're having some game with like a dandelion or whatever, and suddenly Puck is there and everybody freezes and looks at him because he's not part of their group.
He's doing the Kin-chan run, refers to comedian Kenichi Hagimoto, who had a characteristic running style apparently.
Which, like, I guess you just have to know what it looks like, because it's like these drawings aren't really conveying a goofy run to me, but I believe you. I guess I could look it up.
He kind of looks like he's flossing in these panels.
Yeah. No, Puck's antics are on full force here. But he gets kind of the short end of the skag because he wants to just join in on the volleyball or whatever, and then it turns out to be a human eyeball, and he freaks out. Yeah. But he's able to sort of disguise his look and like blend his hair and eyes to look more like they are, so they don't really kick him out or anything. But yeah. Oh, okay. So this leads into like this weird game that the elves are playing. They are having mock battles, but they're
playing war. Like, did you ever play war as a kid? Like on
like cardboard swords or plastic swords? I got it. The
like pretending to shoot each other with finger guns and being like, "Oh no, you got me!" Like, yeah,
it was often Star Wars themed, but yeah, they're slicing and like fighting, but they're actually cutting up each other and massacring each other. Yeah. Oh, and in this, like this is like the one, like, oh yeah, this is still the dark stuff that we have in these. The adult attack that one does on another one, where they turn into a wasp and just kind of attack them in a penetrative manner. It was pretty horrible, but yeah, there's still awful things happening. From time to time. And that little elf person turns into a dead kid after that happens.
Of course.
So yeah, just a nice little, like, where's Rosine getting all these children, like just from all the neighboring towns? Like she's just heading out at night.
Yeah,
and
I guess so.
Pied Pipering people out into the valley. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess so.
So the art style here is super cool because the lead up to this, where it's Rosine and Jill talking a bunch in the valley, with the Puck showing up here as well, and everything's like really bright and light. There's a lot of like lines Mira draws every blade of grass sort of shit going on. It looks really ethereal in a lot of ways. And then after the turn happens where they're playing war and they're like cutting each other up, you notice that there's a lot of panels where it's silhouetted and dark and like just disturbing.
Yeah,
the tone changes visually as well as like what's going on in the story so well.
I mean, it's just the silhouette video game, but like in Limbo, when you see like the dead kids hanging on things and whatever, it was kind of like that, but much more so. Like just a bunch of impaled bodies in the foreground and stuff. There was kind of a big splash, like double page thing. It goes from like the most autumnal, like friendly day ever to the darkest like pitch black night stuff. And then we get to the emergence caverns or whatever, like the cocoons, right?
Yeah, because she runs away, and they're all kind of flabbergasted, like, why is she running?
Jill's been made the offer to like join them and become a elf with them, but she sees all this carnage happen, and then that's what prompts her to run away, which confuses everyone. You're right. And finds her way to the cocoon caverns, which is where children are transformed into elves in these,
I think
like,
so. Yeah,
gooey pods.
So I don't understand how this happens, because they're not like, is that the sacrifice that she's making to be a demon?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting, like, you're right, because it's like Rosine had the like conventional crisis and sacrifice, and now she's become an inhuman, but she is somehow able to turn other people into sort of,
which we haven't seen yet,
sub-inhumans or whatever. Like they're not as powerful as her, but they're sort of part of her horde or whatever.
They're not apostles like the other ones are.
They don't seem to be. No, they still have like a monstrous form or whatever when they turn into like full wasp looking creatures. Yeah, I think Guts is calling them like the insect scourge or something, which they're insulted by. But yeah, it's
I mean, that's their term. He's
like, hey, whoa, no, we're elves. Oh, thank you. And it's like, you're not. You're super not. Like, you're pretending to be. Like they look more insectoid than Puck ever does. Like he doesn't look like this. So yeah, it something's wrong with them. And yeah, there's kind of like a half-formed, like gloopy mess that falls out of one of these egg things, and freaks out Jill some more. She's having a rough time, but it's gonna get worse for her as this goes on. Yeah. But okay, so
of course, nothing gets better in Berserk.
No, I guess not.
Only worse.
Maybe the relationship between like Guts and Puck gets a little bit warmer over the course of these adventures, like this week and next week. Yeah. But yeah. So I guess Guts re-enters the scene at this point, like lighting all the emergent sacks on fire, right? Like he just starts burning the cocoons.
Yes, but this is as Jill is being mummified or whatever. She's being cocooned currently.
They're trying to kind of lure her to sleep or whatever. And then suddenly Puck and Guts are there again. Oh yeah, Puck gets called out as Peekaf in this scene, right? It's like, you're the red-eyed Peekaf. You gave her all these weird ideas. Yeah. And starts attacking him. And that allows this fire to be set and whatnot. And I guess they just try to go all in on burning Guts at this point, but he kind of invites that. Like he just jumps into the flames and is fighting in the flames, and then stabs a sack above his head to like douse himself at the last second.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Puck tries to imitate it later, right? Like he's like, oh, I'll do it too. It's like, all right. Like, yeah, I don't know that there's any way to actually make Puck fighting look cool. So it happens a couple times, and they just kind of extra chibi him up and make him look like he's like got pom-poms for hands, and he's just batting things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's what he can do. Comic relief, I guess.
And this is kind of where we start getting this like idea that people are like, oh, Guts is actually way scarier in this moment than any of the monsters he's fighting. Like, this is kind of the start of that, where there's this awesome panel of him being looked at through the flames, I'm guessing by Jill and Puck. And he literally just looks like a one-eyed demon, like staring at them or whatever. Just like,
just drawn in flames or whatever. Like, there's also him doing this like crazy Joker smile a couple times, like when he's just extra demented. He'll kind of bust out all his teeth in this odd rictus and just kind of make fun of whatever creature he's fighting. So yeah. Burning all the cocoons makes Rosine change forms. Like she decides to go more monster and sort of becomes Batra, I guess. Like she's like aggro Mothra with like
more moth than which is kind of weird that she's always kind of a moth and the other things are like wasps. Weird. Yeah.
No, I guess she still maintains a sort of benevolent form, but this is as monstrous as she gets. Yeah. I was kind of reminded of Queeleg or something because she still has her like humanoid bodice inside of the larger insect body. And that like her face is it's where its face would be. So it's not quite the same combo of animals. But to be clear, like Batra isn't a bat. It's just Mothra's opposite number. Like it's like evil Mothra. So yeah. In this form, it really seems like she can fly at supersonic speeds because Guts is making comments about like just like what are these crazy loud booms that happen when she flies by? Like I can't hit it, but then there's this crazy shockwave after.
She's sonic booming him. Yeah.
She's sonic booming him, but she's going so fast that she can't land good hits either. So she keeps trying to do this like skewer attack and just end him. But he's slightly too fast and she is so fast that it's just not working out for either of them very well. Like they're sort of clipping each other at best as they rocket by. So she slows her speed to do one killing blow and he recognizes that and kind of does this defensive stance and sort of willingly allows his arm to be skewered so he can like get hoisted up in the air. And this was like probably the first place I saw anything like this was like Kratos in God of War killing harpies that he's using as platforms while he's in the air. Like it's just like, Kratos, you're gonna die if you kill that thing. It's like, I don't care, I hate this thing. Just like stabbing it. This is like, what is your play? Like he's gonna like he shoots Rosine while they're in the air together way up over the forest, and it's just like all right, that's pretty hardcore. Like you're gonna fall. So
have you never hated something so much you were willing to kill yourself to kill it too?
No. So I guess he does go fairly berserk here. He pulls this surprise attack with his gun arm while they're up in the sky. Like she thinks she's got him at this point because just like, oh, whatever, fine, I'll just fly you to death or whatever. I'll just go so fast that you blow apart or whatnot. But he manages to pull a blast here. She falls to the ground again. He just survives. Like I guess the tree broke his fall or something. Like he gets dinged up pretty bad a bunch of times, and Puck is there with the elf dust to make it fine.
Yeah.
But I have to assume he's breaking ribs and some internal business with this fall.
For sure. Yeah.
But this was. Oh wait, no. Okay, yeah. So the air blast happens. There's the fall back to Earth. So this is where Rosine kind of sets aside her personal like safety to check on how Jill's doing because this crazy fire kept raging, right?
Yeah.
So like Jill is surrounded by flames on all sides. Puck is just kind of cheerleading and saying like, you need to fight, you need to survive. And she's sort of giving into despair and he's not having it. But Rosine comes to the rescue, which I thought was like a really cool, like special moment for her character to just be like, wow, like she is totally in harm's way, just got shot by this crazy swordsman and is in jeopardy, but she's still like, hey, Jill, are you okay? Like, and she's in like demon form and still has her faculties. It was interesting. I thought that was like a neat, like just the strength of that bond or whatever, that it was transcending how monstrous she was becoming. It was kind of crazy because we saw the Count like not give in to becoming a full-blown demon because of his daughter, but he was still pretty monstrous during all of that. It wasn't really too human, I guess. This is a little more of like, how much of yourself do you maintain when you're like this and whatnot. It was interesting little nuggets of more perspective on that, I guess. And during this, though, this is a perfect sneak attack opportunity for Guts once again. And he just stabs right through her. It's pretty rough.
And like this child corpse comes out. Oh.
Like, yeah, it's like she had an egg there
like
or something.
Inside.
There's like, half formed like body falls on Jill. Also, all of her friends' blood splatters all over her.
There's some great scenes of Jill just like going insane at this moment too, of like laughing maniacally with blood all over her.
It seems to shatter her soul a little bit. Yeah. It's pretty traumatizing stuff.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah. Which I guess was more so in the moment, making me like, oh man, Rosine is toast. Like this is her seeing her best friend die or whatever. Like this is crazy stuff. But yeah, I was intrigued that he does not play that card quite that way. Like there's this whole scene that I thought was like a deathbed scene where like Rosine is like seemingly dying. Jill is talking to her for presumably the last time. And like Rosine goes into her story of just like, oh, okay, so yeah, when I went out to the forest, there were no elves and it was just the worst. Like I waited for days. It wasn't true. And it's kind of like the death of her childhood or whatever. Like she believed in this fairy tale, wanted it to happen, but no, cold reality comes back or whatever. Her abusive dad comes and starts smacking her around. This is her like Behelit activation moment or whatever. Like she's bloodied.
The lowest. Yeah.
She's crying. Like her mom's getting hit also at this point, and then like her blood and tears and stuff fall into Behelit. It wakes up, and we don't really still get exactly what transpired beyond that, but she turned at that point and became her idea of what an elf is. Yeah. And has been trying to live this kind of fantasy this whole time. But she's in this state where she's just like, yeah, none of it's true. Like there aren't any elves. And it's like, no, there totally is. This guy right here, like Puck's totally an elf. He's a real one. And then Puck says like, yeah, we did used to live in this valley a long time ago. I don't know why we left. And I was really struck by this moment. Like I thought it was a really beautiful moment, but in the moment of assuming she's dying. So it's like, oh wow, she got to see a real elf before she died.
And it's sure. Just like, yeah. And then she was right. There was elves here. Like they're trained to never be spotted by humans. That's probably why you didn't see one if they were here. Like,
yeah, that becomes a bigger thing in the Binding Chain stuff about like whether you see elves or not. Like, because this whole town saw Puck and were really pissed at him, but I guess that's because they live in a region that's a folktale they know is like, oh, elves live in that valley and they're dangerous. Yeah,
they're a focus of their like pain every day sort of thing.
It's like, oh, don't wander over there. The elves will get you. Like there's kind of, they're ever present in their minds, so like they probably think about them.
If you go to some like little town in India or something, I bet they can spot a tiger that you can't see from like a mile away because
you got to know to look out for how they camouflage.
Totally, yeah.
Okay. It's not like you don't believe tigers exist and just go for a dumb walk. It's
when
like,
they're not on your mind, you don't notice them.
This rock keeps tigers away. There's no way. And then you just, nope.
I want to buy your rock.
Exactly. But so there's this moment with Rosine's real story and how she like finally sees a fairy or an elf and all this. But yeah, she then is able to get back on her feet and fly away after this important moment. Guts comes back to finish the job.
Yeah.
But Jill is so shaken at this point. She's like, no, it's been enough. Please stop. And like throws herself over Rosine's body to like shield her. And earlier there was kind of a moment where Guts says like, hey, that thing that happened at like the fire where I stopped my sword, I'm not going to do that again. Like, this is my job. I got to take care of this stuff. If you get in the way, you're toast. So I don't know. There's this moment where I'm not sure if he does hesitate again or if it's truly Zepek's arrow that threw off his swing enough to save them, you know?
Well, like, I mean, either way, he hesitated enough to allow time for an arrow to hit him.
That's
he's
what
a quick dude. So.
He's really fast when he wants to be. I know he's hurt and he just fell out of the sky and everything, but I still feel like if Guts is going for the kill shot, it's over anyway. So yeah. I still think that little thimbleful of humanity or whatever is still there, and he did kind of stop just enough to allow this to happen. But yeah, Jill's dad fires a crossbow bolt at him, hits him mid swing, and it lands next to them. And then the Iron Holy Knights or whatever descend on the scene, and he flees into the forest. So he is not able to kill Rosine, and then she is able to muster up whatever strength she has left to go flying again.
It's kind of interesting that they ignore them for like they all run after him and tell him to wait with his daughter or whatever.
It's like, oh, Zepek, like, what are you talking about? You finished your mission, you saved your daughter, so tend to your family, and we'll continue our job. And he's disappointed in that because he's like, no, I want to join the hunt.
But I mean, what's interesting is, did the Holy See not see the demon moth girl there? Is she part of the like elf thing where they can't see her?
I don't know. Yeah, because
she's on the ground bleeding.
She is, like, I would, like, from a distance, maybe they just don't assume it's anything too weird. Because you're right, they did. Part of the
thing. Remember how Guts is stuck in a limbo world where he sees the demons and is still part of the living world. That's what his curse is, the brand of sacrifice. Do they just not see her because she's like in the ethereal realm, essentially?
I guess so, yeah. At the very least, it doesn't allow Lady Farnese to see anything weird until later, because she has a big moment where she gets to see some gnarly stuff. But you're right. She does just kind of, they all fixate on, there goes the swordsman, let's get after him. And they just space out on this crazy moth lady that is just there. So, yeah, you're right. They're really not doing a great job at other awareness, I suppose. Or their kind of whole thing about like their religiosity and what their focus is and stuff is, I'm really intrigued where the story goes with that.
Me too, but I think it might go somewhere bad because I fucking hate religious archetypes.
Oh, it definitely, yeah. I've gotten far enough to know it gets pretty gnarly, but not necessarily with them. It's like the order they serve, you know? Oh, okay. So it's going to be this interesting crisis of faith for Lady Farnese is the next tale. But yeah, it's to be seen. What?
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Continued.
There you go.
Yeah.
But okay. So yes, Rosine saves Jill. Jill's really traumatized. Does not want to be a fairy or anything or elf anymore, but she still wants to leave. She pursues Guts in this situation and somehow catches up with him before the Holy Order finds him, I guess via Puck's direction, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he just is good at hiding. I mean, he's been like hiding from things for years now, so sure, that makes sense. Okay.
Evading knights is his specialty. But okay. Hesitates. Sorry. They space out on that. Okay. So, okay. Guts is hiding in this cave. Jill finds him there and is still insisting, like, I don't have a home I want to live in. You need to take me with you.
Yeah.
And the kind of conclusion to like Jill's story and what she gets told, like this kind of battlefield poetry that Guts drops is pretty great, like Metal Gear-esque kind of stuff of just like, oh, look around me, like, is this the paradise you want? And there's like all these shadows with faces start emerging and like clouding around her, and it's just like, there is no paradise to escape to. Like, if you come with me, it's just a battlefield. You need to, like, it's basically like you need to live on your own battlefield. Like, life is a battlefield, and your fight isn't here with me, it's back in your town or whatever. Like, it's
wherever.
Yeah, it's sort of sobering advice, but I don't know. I found it pretty astute, good stuff, like, for her situation.
Looking at like this part now that you're talking about of them in the cave, I guess that, like, knowing what we know from the next chapter, where it's like, like, you can see that stuff if like you're paying attention, you're kind of tuned in. Because there's nothing. She doesn't see anything. These demon things are swirling around him and have been the whole time. But it isn't until he says, like, take a good look at the darkness around me or whatever, and then she sees it in the next panel. Like, so I guess that's more of that shit's there. It's just that you don't. I'm guessing that's how, like, people don't see the elves either, right? Is that we see in the
like
panel,
they don't think darkness. To, or you
to
don't
look hard. Yeah.
If you don't believe, kind of, you won't think to see it, kind of thing. It's kind of this notion of, like, when you're a kid, you don't know what not to believe or whatever, or what's not real. So maybe that's when you see gremlins and goblins and real things.
I like that he refers to them as a garbage heap of losers.
These loser souls that keep following me around.
The place is adrift where the dead cling to the living, drowning in jealousy and yearning, a garbage heap of losers.
They don't even have a body.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
This part's like disturbing.
But yeah, Jill cannot go with him. It would be much worse if she did. So she just kind of has to face her situation at home. I hope for this character that they get stronger and take from this something good and fight back, kind of thing.
Jill's great. What a great character.
Jill has a lot going on, and I hope the best, because this is a pretty grim world, so it could go bad, but I have to believe they invested this time in her story for some reason.
The panel of him like holding her in his cloak or whatever is just like, that's such a good image of him. Just,
and you kind of get her closing thoughts on Mr. Swordsman, right? Like, it's just kind of like, yeah, and I saw this crazy guy and he told me this and that was it. He left or whatever. Like, it kind of concludes with her thoughts, like this lost children story, as she's kind of standing out in the fields again or whatever, has to go back. It's,
I mean, it's just another story of struggling, right? The struggler, the tale of the struggler or whatever. She's just another one, essentially,
that was encountered on the road, and she's got to go back to her life. And then we get Rosine flying around again, and she kind of is off to find her parents, but she gets hungry and has to go find something.
She's gonna be late for dinner. Yeah.
So she's going to go eat some more kids, or I don't know.
So, I mean, cynically, that could be a moment of like, no, like, she actually is just going off to die in private or something. She's lost too much blood, and this is her dying thoughts of like being a human and being late for dinner, and she can't wait to see what mom made.
Maybe. Yeah. I guess I just don't. I don't view like an off-screen death in comics or anything as like anything definitive at all.
Also, especially in Berserk, where we definitely he will show us when he wants us to know something's gone.
He's dead. Yeah. Like the Dark Souls don't come for her or anything. It's just kind of left hanging there. So perhaps we'll see Rosine again in the future. Interesting character, though. I thought she brought a lot of dimension to the Inhumans. That wasn't really there. I mean, we know who Griffith was before he was turned into Femto or whatever, but I haven't seen enough Femto to know how much of him is still in there, you know?
Right. Yep.
So still remains to be seen, but yeah, it's definitely a less like important story than the previous one.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. It felt like kind of like, okay, we're returning to the other rhythms of the story, and then there's the kind of seeds planted for the the Holy See and their stuff. So yeah, when we were planning this episode, I was kind of like forgetting a lot of the Holy See stuff. It's like, no, there's this whole story about Rosine and Chill, and that's what we're doing. And then the Holy See is like, oh yeah, I guess they're sort of there as like the framing or something. Yeah, like they're introduced, and like their pursuit of guts is the big thing going on. But this story about this village and these missing kids and all this is kind of the, like, it's a story in and of itself. So it's, yeah, I guess a mini arc is fair. And you get your bug battles and everything in there. So there's weird,
some
cannon,
awesome
slice.
Yeah, just super cool fighting.
Like, I feel like the prototype Guts would say rocket slice when he does that or something. Sure. Like, it would be something real silly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm kind of glad he doesn't do that. He just pulls off wild shit and you have to like figure it out. But he's not, you know, smoking his own supply or whatever. He's not bragging about it. He's just taking care of it. So I prefer that. But yeah, there's no paradise to escape to. This weird religion is there, and we'll see where that goes. So I guess that's it. That's this tale. Yeah, then it's the knights are pursuing him, and we'll encounter them next week, right? That's,
yeah. I'm not sure that Commander it'll be
Zan, and
I'm guessing it'll be you and me probably again. I don't know how long this COVID thing we'll be talking about, but
I mean, I've read it, but if not, like, I just feel Ben has so much more like the whole thing perspective because he's read the whole thing.
Well,
I'm always guessing what's going to happen, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe that's interesting for anybody listening that has already read the stuff. It's like, oh, it's kind of interesting.
Oh no, Rosine never comes back. Don't you know that?
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know exactly. I haven't read it.
But like at the same time, if Ben was here, I wouldn't want him to tell me that she doesn't come back. Like, I want to figure that out myself, you know? Maybe.
I didn't even really get the sense she was that injured anymore. It was sort of like this weird, like multiple forms of a moth kind of thing, like cocoon form versus like caterpillar or something. Like, it's just like, I don't know that she can regenerate or whatever, but she did not seem like in the prototype. There's that thing gets cut and his guts are hanging out and you know he's in trouble. This was a little more like, maybe they just lose their legs and she can continue. She still has her human legs, so she'll be fine. But
yeah, no, I have no idea either.
Or if she eats more people. Well, like the Count, if you didn't cut off his head, he could regenerate, right? So
yeah,
I have to assume like she is not mortally wounded in demon terms. She just has to go eat a village of kids or something and she'll be back. And I know that sounds awful, but she's a good character. She deserves that. Yeah. You know, just go get a snack and come back later.
She's one of the more interesting ones post like Golden Age stuff. Like all the others, like obviously we haven't done a lot with Black Swordsman arc in this world, like the current world, but there's like nobody really interesting in there that isn't a main character. Guts and Puck being the only two.
Sure. Like, what are the little characters we've met along the way? Like, in that?
Well, I mean, the God Hand is the most interesting because they're Cenobites, and that's awesome.
Is it Teresia or whatever? Like the Count's daughter, is she considered part of the Black Swordsman arc? Like, because she could return in an interesting way. She's pretty pissed at him.
Yeah, you know? I think a lot of the Black Swordsman people or whatever are either dead or demons. So who knows? Yeah.
No, some people are going to be out for vengeance though, but I don't know. So we'll find out in future issues of Berserk.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Do you want to share the email so people can ask us questions?
Well, it is ihavegoneberserk@gmail.com. That's just fun to say. It
is. Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I guess don't spoil what happens with Rosine, but I don't know. If you want to make some mashup-y stuff of like Rosina from Mario Galaxy and Rosine.
Yeah.
That would make sense, right?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Thanks for sitting in to get this done. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. No, I've read a bunch of it in the last month, so it's been fun. Keeping cool, reading Berserk. So
yeah, keep on berserking, baby. You gotta find a way to log off.
Oh, we don't have. Okay,
we don't have a sign off.
What was our gong thing? I feel like we had a tagline for that though, didn't we?
Nope.
All right.
For a while there, you were saying something about the good ship pixel response, but that was recent.
That was relatively recent. That was late. Oh well. I've gone berserk. Email it, and see you next time.
Bye.